expensive phone without a keyboard. Some people can't afford them. Some operators won't choose to subsidize as much. Some people can't afford the data plan. It turns out if you look at it, the sweet spot today of phone sales is phones that cost about $150 to $200 to manufacture. You can't say what does a consumer pay because they get subsidies associated with it. But $150 to $200 to manufacture. The iPhone's closer to $500. So with Windows Mobile, we want to permit a range of hardware innovation and yet still have a pretty good experience end-to-end with pretty good applications. And we want the ability for software developers to target both a very high-end and a lower range or mid-range phone. And the ability to scale up and down, to work with multiple hardware vendors, to get a range of competition and innovation and price competition amongst the hardware guys is a big asset. It is certainly what our strategy is. Very different than Apple's, and it's very different than BlackBerry's. But unless you assume Apple and BlackBerry are going to sell the lion's share of most phones, which I don't, because they're going to get a lot of competition from the Samsungs, LGs, Sony Ericssons, Taiwanese. I mean, there are a lot of guys who are going to be in that phone business. I think that the play for us is to permit broad innovation at many price points with a very good and very feature-rich in terms of applications experience. If people want keyboard input, that's great. If they want touch, that's great. If they want voice input, we need to give them a range of modalities for interaction. And that's the direction we're headed with Windows Mobile 6.5 and into the future.
Does the price flexibility give you potentially much more of a global reach with that, and you start getting into emerging markets with smartphones if you cover the range of prices as opposed to perhaps a more singular premium?
Well, even in the U.S., let's talk about the U.S. Let's not worry about emerging markets. I mean, most people in the U.S. don't buy a phone. There's big irony to this. I think you and I backstage were talking about whether PCs, at $200 or $300 could really be bought and owned by all students. We're talking about computers that sell, or phones that sell for $500. A $500 phone is not going to reach all Americans, let alone everybody in emerging markets. And so the world will want, there will be a market from the U.S. to Indonesia, to pick an emerging market, for phones that have, right now, the most popular phones in China and India cost about $25 to build. We can't get our smartphone software on that. We can't hit phones that are $100 to build. We can hit from about $175 on up to $500. Apple may do some other design points, but they're going to tend, I think, probably to be at the high end. And that's fine for them, but I think there's a range of innovation that the market will want here and elsewhere.
Okay. One other